YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. We got bold predictions for the final regular season week 18. Bold predictions sent in by you guys through our Twitter. Check it out. Join us on Twitter. You're missing out if you're not there. We're going to have polls. You guys will vote for all kinds of awards, the playoff games, and those will be included in videos. So very important to follow that Twitter link down below. Recent videos pinned down in the comments as well. Can't wait for our playoff content. Really excited for the playoffs. So join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Let's take a look at the bold predictions. Nagy fired. It's fucking time. It's happening. Finally. I mean, we've been doing these bold since last year, early last year, doing these bold predictions. People have been sending in Nagy fired, Nagy fired. I'm like, oh, not quite yet. It's got to be getting close. It's finally going to happen. We did it. We finally did it. I mean, could you imagine if I forgot to pop it up? It's happening. It's time, Could you imagine, though, if if the Bears win 3 in a row, they beat the Vikings this week, and then they're just like, maybe we'll keep it going here, It'd be a disaster in Chicago. It's already a little messy out there, so he's got to be gone. I think we've already heard reports that they're getting ready to start their search for the next coach Monday or next week. So it really feels like it's happening. And there was those reports that he was going to get fired after the Thanksgiving game. Everyone was, the whole fan base was throwing a party about it. Didn't actually happen. I think they kind of knew then that he would be fired. Somebody in the organization had to say it was coming. They probably just might as well wait to the end of the year because it's really going to change anything. So he should be gone. And then from Flowster, Vikings head coach Zimmer is fired after the game. We yesterday, actually, I did a fun video. I really enjoyed it about the coaches on the hot seat plus some wild card coaches on what I think the team should do with them. In my opinion, should they be fired? Should they be kept? And what I predicted for each one as well. So Nagy and Mike Zimmer were the first ones on that video. I think it's happening. I'm a little more confident about Nagy being fired, a little bit more, but I think Zimmer's going to be gone. There's people around the, writers, media around Minnesota that are saying it. Sometimes the way people are talking, though, it kind of looks like a prediction that they feel really good about. So I'm not saying it's for sure. You can't say it's for sure just because what those people are saying. But the way, seen some quotes from Zimmer today, he's still proud of what he's done. That almost sounds like this might be it. They're surprisingly playing their starters this week in a meaningless game against the Bears. That also tells me maybe they want to just try to win for Mike Zimmer's last game. Mike Zimmer wanted to try to win. So I think it's happening. Again, we did a recent video breaking all that down. Really enjoyed that video, so check it out. Went in kind of depth on my thoughts on how these coaches have done, what they have done, why they should keep them, why they should fire them. So recent video, check it out. But finally, some of these guys that we've been talking about throughout these bold prediction videos since last year, maybe even the year before, they're finally going to go. We think. You never know here. Tony Benz. Ravens beat Big Ben in his send-off and hit the necessary 3-game parlay to make the playoffs. So I have the Ravens winning that game. I think it's a toss-up, but some guys on the COVID list now as of this morning, for the Steelers. And it felt like it was Big Ben's send-off last game. It was the home send-off. So, now we got an actual send-off, but it's in Baltimore. I have the Ravens winning. I do think that's kind of close to 50-50, though. But the Ravens have to hit the 3-game parlay to make the playoffs. So to make the playoffs, the Ravens got to win, beat the Steelers. So we'll say that's very, very realistic. They need the Colts to lose to the Jaguars. They need the Patriots to beat the Dolphins. So the Jags to beat the Colts, Patriots to beat the Dolphins, and the Raiders to beat the Chargers. I think some of those are realistic for sure. If they didn't need that Colts one, if they just needed a Ravens win, they go and win, a Patriots win, and a Raiders win, I think that's pretty realistic. Whether you're picking the Chargers over the Raiders or not, I think you have to agree that's pretty realistic. I think the Colts one being in there and all of those together need to happen, not just one or the other. I'm going to say it's pretty piping. That Colts one. The Jags are the worst team in football. But I think it's realistic the Ravens beat Big Ben here. I think it's realistic. I think the Steelers win that game. But Yeah, a lot needs to happen there. It'd be pretty wild, though, if the Ravens just somehow got in. They just had some heartbreakers recently. Last few weeks, minus the Bengals game, just some tough ones. So, going back to the last time I played the Steelers, really. So it's kind of been tough for the Ravens. They could have, even though it was a tough road to get in because what was going on with their roster, obviously, they had an opportunity there. Next game from Colton. TJ Watt breaks the record by 1. Steelers win by 3. Kind of want to focus on I think it's realistic if Steelers win the game. Close game. I think the winner of that game, I think it'll be close. I want to focus on the TJ Watt breaks the record. I'm surprised somebody just didn't have that one here straight up. It's not that bold, I guess, to think he breaks the record. It's tough, though. I was talking about it in other videos. First thought, like TJ Watt, man on a mission right now, elite pass rusher, trying to get that record, needs 1.5 sacks. He needs 1 to tie, get a half a sack on top of that to break the record. That sounds like it's very, very realistic. It sounds like it's happening, but division rival, big-time rival, Ravens, John Harbaugh. If there was a coach that was going to try, their hardest to maybe wanted to stop a guy to get the record, which coach would that be? I could probably list a couple that would be at the very top of that list, those rankings. I think Harbaugh would be at the very top. Going against the Ravens, going against the Steelers, I think that's, number 1 priority this week, win the ball game. Number 2, stop TJ Watt. I could be wrong. That's just kind of my thoughts. What I've gathered from Harbaugh, I think people would agree with me. So they may make it as tough as possible for TJ Watt. So I think it's going to be tough. I think he's I could see him getting 1 and missing it by a half. I think he can get up to 2. He can get 3 sacks. It's possible. I'm gonna say it's happening though. I got a feeling he gets 2 sacks. So I'll say it's happening. But I'm not gonna say it's it's kind of up in the air at the same time. I really think it's gonna happen though. But it's kind of what I'd be watching this week. Got to see who makes the playoffs, who gets in. But I'm really watching to see if TJ Watt gets his record. I had the extra game this year, obviously, so people will say that'll kind of come with it. Didn't miss some games, but if it was a normal year, 17 weeks, he still would have missed those games. But anytime records are broken, it's very impressive. And TJ Watt's a special player that seems to be getting better. I think it's always a good moment, obviously, when records are broken. So I can't wait to see what happens there. Joey Fellenzer, probably said that wrong. I apologize. But Jags upset the Colts. Colts missed the playoffs. So we touched on this with a previous bold prediction here. We did a couple of them ago here, was part of it. But now for this one, the Colts just got to lose, and they missed the playoffs. Man, a lot of pressure last time, so that maybe can cause an upset. Last time they played the Jags, it was actually interesting. The Colts couldn't do much. They did a lot early, ended up being kind of tight. The Jags had a shot to go down and win the game. They turn it over at midfield. So that game actually could have went either way. It does feel like the Jags are worse now. It does feel like the Colts are better now, except for last week. Colts struggled last week against the Raiders, but it's hard for me to see the Colts losing. Maybe I shouldn't go Pipey. Maybe I should go high. It's hard for me to see them losing and missing the playoffs. To me, it really feels like a playoff team. So that'd be pretty wild. Has crazier things happened? I don't know. That might be if the Colts lose to the Jags is pretty damn crazy, and they miss the playoffs. That's wild to me. So it's possible, I suppose, but it's pretty piping to predict it. It's a bold prediction here. B-Dov. Titans lose to the Texans. Chiefs lose to the Broncos. Bills lose to the Jets, and Patriots beat the Dolphins to snag the 1 seed. Okay, I like it, but we're getting a little crazy with this one. But I do like it. What if the thinking? I guess. What if this happened? We did a scenarios video, and we found out that the Patriots can get. They're currently at the 5 seed. They can actually get the 1 seed. They can drop down to the 7 seed. But the thought that they can get the 1 seed, not only could they jump the Bills and win their division with some help, but they could actually get that 1 seed. That's pretty crazy. A lot of it's due to. If teams lose, but having the tiebreaker over the Tennessee Titans, who currently have that 1 seed, if they lose. So All this to happen, though. Titans lose to the Texans. They lost to them already, so I don't think that's too out there. Chiefs lose to the Broncos. I don't see it. Bills lose to the Jets. Jets been playing better ball, but I don't see it. Patriots beat the Dolphins. That's obviously realistic. Yeah. Too much needs to happen here. It'd be pretty wild if it goes down, though. Latson, team scores over 40 points in the Chargers-Raiders game. Yeah, I think that game should be a shootout. I didn't predict the team to score over 40 points, but what do I go with here? I think it's kind of realistic. That's a lot, though. It's a lot of points. I'm going to say warm. I was about to go realistic. I do think it's somewhat realistic. I'm going to go warm, though. I think it could be a shootout. I'd be surprised if it was more low scoring. I think with Justin Herbert and that offense and knowing what's on the line, I think they have success against the Raiders defense. It's not typically that's not the type of defense that they've struggled with. The Chargers have struggled sometimes in random weeks offensively. That was typically man coverage, good teams that get good pressure, maybe some teams that mix it up a little bit with their coverages. Maybe some trap coverages. The Raiders could easily switch things up, but they run cover 3 a lot more than anybody else in the league. It's just a big-time cover 3 team, and they're going to have to mix it up, and maybe they do it a little bit. But that makes it a little easier, knowing what they do and running cover 3 for Justin Herbert and this offense. Smart players like Keenan Allen, where I think they can score a lot of points. And I think the Raiders caught some fire at the end of last game, being clutch, getting some momentum. Derek Carr kind of getting his groove back that he had in the first half of the year. Chargers defense a little vulnerable. Josh Jacobs been running pretty tough. I don't think he ran for a ton of yards last week, but the last few weeks he's been running real tough, real hard. And the Chargers, knowing that they know about themselves, their own identity, we can't stop the run. We got to worry about Josh Jacobs. That opens things up for the run game, opens things up for the pass game. So I think Derek Carr, Zay Jones, Hunter Renfrow getting going. Could they get Darren Waller back here? I think there's a lot of reasons to back that a team can score an insane amount of points here. So the more I'm talking, the more I think it's very possible. 40 is a lot, though, especially for this year, it feels like. There's some teams that randomly throw out 50. That's going against the Jags, teams like that, though. The Lions. I think it's possible, though. For the reasons I explained, I think both teams, if not one team, should score a good amount of points here. So we'll see. And then Zachary Brenner, also on the Raiders-Chargers game here. Raiders versus Chargers ends in a tie. I saw a lot of these. A lot of people talking about this game ending in a tie because there is a scenario. Because remember, this is the last game of the week. They made this Sunday night game because this is kind of the biggest game. It has that feeling of win or go home, which is very possible when it ends up. That's why they made it the Sunday night game, a division rival game. But there are certain scenarios that we went over in our scenarios video too that happen throughout the day before this game is played, where they're sitting there, and then if those games to go the way they need to go, if these two teams tie, they both get in. So I think people kind of get it in their head that they may agree to tie or they may be okay with tying if they're in that scenario. There's not everyone's saying they agree to tie. There's some people out there that say that. There's some people that may say not that, but if it's kind of in that tie game, overtime, maybe they kind of play conservative to end in a tie. I think both are extremely piping, and games can end in a tie. We saw the Steelers-Lions do it. Games can end in a tie. It can go to overtime. Chargers went in overtime. What felt like a big-time offensive game with the Chiefs. Didn't end in a tie, but it was getting pretty close to possibly. So sure, but a lot of people are on this. I don't expect it to happen. One, they're definitely not going to agree to end in a tie. They're definitely not going to agree. People get in their heads. Do they take knees? Absolutely not. Two competitive teams, NFL coaches, staffs, players. They want to beat the opposing team. They want to beat their rival for sure. And then also, what happens if you kind of, in the, which is not going to happen, but what happens if coaches agree? Or let's say they go to overtime, like, hey, let's just play conservative here, and we'll both go to the playoffs. That won't happen, but let's say it did. What happens if a team has kind of a fluke fumble? The other team's players can't control, adrenaline going. Players want to score, scoops and scores for a touchdown. That's ball game in overtime, and then the coach would be like, "Well, I just fucked myself." That's so that's why it could never ever happen, and I don't think it ever will. So for this to come true, none of the shenanigans. It would just happen. It would just have to be. It would have to just be a straight up tie. And if this game did end up in a tie, if it did end in a tie, or maybe I hope it doesn't, because it's going to be a mess. People are like, they did it on purpose. The teams did it on purpose. And if it ends in a tie, I am not going to be saying that. I'm just going to say coincidence. It ended in a tie. Maybe there's a little conservative play, knowing what's on the line, sure. But no one didn't try to win the game. That's not going to be the case, So I suppose it could end in a tie, because games end in a tie. I don't want to say all the time, but it happens in the NFL. Teams will be going full go, though. So I think I'm saying it's piping. Just because, a normal game, a game that means nothing. A game that means absolutely nothing this week. Packers, Lions, or Vikings, Bears. It'd be the same as predicting that. If you say that game's going to end in a tie, I'm going to say piping for that, too. Most likely it's not, So that's my take on that. A lot of people seem to be on that topic. But that'll be it for our Week 18 bold predictions. We got a bunch of different videos up on the channel. Check them out, having to do with this week and coaches, things like that. We had a bunch of different recent videos that are informing there, so check it out. Links pinned in the comments for those. Playoff content starts next week. I'm excited to change it up. I'm excited for playoff football, so join us. Make sure you check out that Twitter link down below for that as well. It's going to do it, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.